If you like big butts or chests for that matter, you're going to be in great denial in the modern day video gaming industry because all those things are prohibited now. And you can see that with a new Dragon Age Veilguard character design model that just came out, where people are looking at the system and wondering where are all the feminine curves for a lot of the characters. It seems like there's a limit on femininity that you can place on a lot of these female characters. And this is something we've been seeing all throughout the video gaming industry these past few years, where there's always been a design model of making the characters more androgynous and less feminine. And I think we can see that with a lot of the character creation models that we're seeing released this past few years with Starfield, and of course most of all the Pokemon Go update that angered fans for deforming a lot of the character avatars that a lot of players like, that were more traditional and in line with the female male gender differences. And we see that same thing happening with the character designer for Dragon Age Veilguard, where it's even more so in that direction, where a lot of the elements of the character designers are leaning towards more masculine traits and are limiting some of the gender differences between the male-female counterparts. And I think this is a thing that we're seeing a lot in the industry, where there's more an effort to masculinize a lot of the female characters and to feminize a lot of the male characters. And this kind of plays out in Dragon Age, where you look at the character creation model, where it is restrictive in the designs that you can place on the characters, and it has its own warped game-breaking mentality of introducing elements from the modern world to the fantasy world of Dragon Age. And I think that's my biggest gripe with this character creation model, where it's bringing things and concepts from modern day California politics related to gender surgery and other elements into this game. And I think that's my most frustrating thing. And of course, for a lot of people, their most frustrating thing is going to be the lack of feminine curves. And I think that's the thing people are talking about for the most part, because the maximum size for the backside of a particular female character looks almost as flat as a flapjack. And I think that's the thing people are complaining about. They're making comparisons like, where's her backside? Is that the maximum limit for a female character that you can make? And you can even see the comparisons to some of the male models, where the males are allowed to have bigger backsides. And I think it's just this kind of hypocritical, hyper feminist outlook that we're seeing in the gaming industry that is just sorely handicapping a lot of the creativity that we used to see in the video gaming industry. And I think this is a prime example where we're seeing it used to just flatten out some of the female characters. And I think we can see this with the overall maxing out of different sizes, where the chest size is even limited as well, where people are saying, is this the limit? This is basically a B cup. Why can't we go even further than that? And I think this goes back to this overall perception that we're seeing in the video gaming industry, where there is a deep intention to masculinize a lot of the elements related to female characters, where you have Microsoft cautioning developers to avoid female curves, much in the kind of Stellar Blade's example, where people are saying within the industry that you have to avoid anything that is feminine and appealing to the male gaze. And that is a priority for a lot of developers that are more focused on addressing their progressive political ideology rather than making a good game. And we're seeing this play out within the industry because of politics. So you can see this with some of the statements made during the creation of The Last of Us 2, where Naughty Dog made it a priority to be more trans friendly and masculinize some of the female characters, to make a lot of the female characters look more like a possibility that a lot of trans people can attain this look. And I think this is kind of a perspective that I see as perverse and more so twisted, because why wouldn't a person that is transitioning want to look more feminine? Why would they want to look like a more masculinized version of a woman? That is the ideal, I would suspect. But this is the messed up thinking of the people that are leading this political activist group within the gaming development space. They have no reason or logic, and they're just creating their standards based on a warped and twisted ideology that they've founded on their own. I think this is a situation we see play out with a lot of games within the industry, where there is a banning of glutes and butt sizes and chest sizes to look more trans friendly for an audience that may or may not even like that positioning, because it seems like the antithesis of what people actually want to see in the gaming space. You want to see something that is idealistic and beautiful, and I think stripping away those elements in kind to actually appease someone's soft ego is a bad business decision and overall artistically lacking, because you're making something that is unappealing to people that actually want to play the game. And I think this is a situation we're seeing play out, where old games and design styles are being removed. The Mass Effect look of a lot of female characters sold Mass Effect to a wider audience, and that is being removed from Dragon Age is going to limit its audience. I think that's the thing we saw with Baldur's Gate 3, where it had appealing looking characters and it sold the game to a mass amount of people, and it had a large appeal to a crowd of people. And I think this is the situation that is running away from Dragon Age right now, because whenever I see a character from Dragon Age, it's uninspiring, much in line with Concord, where Concord had uninspiring character designs, and now we have uninspiring character creation models. And it's going back to this age of trying to remove things that are acceptable to the masses, to force your own ideology onto the masses of people that are attracted to the game and property that you grabbed control of. Because I think that is a situation with Dragon Age now, where we are getting almost an apologetic look at the past Dragon Age games that weren't as extreme in their political ideology and trends. Even though Dragon Age has been at the forefront of pushing the boundaries within the video gaming space, but now people are scared. But now we're just having these corporate platitudes where we're including things like vitiligo and other elements from modern society into the gaming industry, where it's just, okay, this just seems like straight up pandering. And for me, the worst part is adding scars from transition surgery for female to male transitioners. I'm like, what? Why would you have scars on your chest in a Dragon Age game? Is this magic? There's all these elements in the world, and you're using modern day transitioning surgery to actually have your breast removed and be turned into a man. It just doesn't make any sense. We're introducing the real life world into Dragon Age, and it breaks the immersion that you would have in the game. And I think that's the essential thing that I hate about this character creation. I could live without the bigger chest, but who cares? I played games with ugly characters, but now you're introducing real life events into the Dragon Age world, where I'm like, okay, this is just California politics in Dragon Age. This is annoying. You're introducing something that has no place in the world of Dragon Age. And I think that's my biggest gripe, where you have the ability to put the scars under your chest like you just had surgery. I'm like, that doesn't even fit the Dragon Age world. We have magic, we have all these other things. It makes no sense for the universe. I think a lot of people feel the same way. Like, why is there top surgery for female characters in a Dragon Age universe with magic and dragons? It just doesn't make any sense. I think that thing breaks the entirety of the game itself, where you just know this is being made for political purposes. And I think that is the case with the person behind the game direction, because they're obviously having the same situation where they are transitioning themselves. You can see the game director, Corinne Bush, who is a person that just started transitioning in 2020 or 2019. So they're experiencing this. They're trying to put this themselves in the game. And that's often the case with a lot of the modern day video game developers, where they're just trying to put themselves in the game. They're trying to make things for themselves, and they don't care about the customer base. And I think this is reflected back on what we're seeing in the game itself, where we're getting a game that's mainly focused on the game director and their fetishes. And I think that's the thing that we're seeing play out with Dragon Age. And you can see the game director in 2020, and they just started transition in 2021, and this game was in development for years. It just makes you feel like, okay, this is being made on someone's personal fetish and fantasy, and we're seeing it play out in a video game. And it makes it wholly uninteresting to actually be engaged in this game. And it makes you miss those past games like Mass Effect that were daring or making games for the game players. But I think if we made a game like Mass Effect today, we'd have to have an apology on the butt saying we don't approve of this game anymore, we don't like this butt anymore, and we want you to know that we don't like what we created in the past. So I think that's the thing we would see if Mass Effect was remastered again. We would see all the creations of the past removed and changed to fit the modern day audience trend. And I think we see that with Dragon Age today, where it's becoming a shell of itself. And I think it limiting and restricting the curves of a lot of female characters is one step, and it introducing transitioning body scars for top surgery into the world of Dragon Age, where it's a place of magic, demons, and spirits, and you're introducing something dealing with modern day transgender surgery into a game. It just doesn't make any sense, and it just shows this game is being made for ideological purposes, and that is the sole purpose for this new Dragon Age game. And it's a sad state of affairs for a game that I once loved. But you tell me what you think about the situation. What do you think is going on with Dragon Age Veilguard? Do you think it's a politicized game that's trying to work on the tendencies of the game director? I think that's a high possibility, but We know it's just a game that has none of the original creators, and it's being made by people that don't have the skill or talent or even understand the Dragon Age world to even respect it. But that's just my perspective. I don't know what's happening with the game. It's just my theory, but you leave your comments. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.